Today we would be discussing about the validation. There are few validations which are available in group reporting. One is standardized validation, then there is a reported validation, and third one is consolidated validation.
What is that second one?
Standardized, reported, and consolidated.
Consolidated. Okay.
Yeah.
Standardized. Okay.
Standardized and reported is there in the data monitor, whereas consolidation is there in consolidation monitor. So this all configuration has to be done in Fury, validation part configuration. So we have to configure validation method, and then we have to configure validation rule for all these three validations.
I need this link because I unable to find this link for
Okay,
our
so
system. Is it possible to find the same link for me?
yeah, so go over here in login, right? You will find a SAP Query Launchpad.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
From there you go to the link.
Okay. Yeah.
If you face any issue, then just ping me on WhatsApp, and I can share this server details.
Yesterday I tried to change global parameters. It's not worked out for me. I think better we can revisit that changing global parameters.
Okay. So you go to set global parameter.
Okay.
Okay. Then in that, what you need to do is you need to give your version,
Mm-hmm.
fiscal year, period, then chart of account, and then ledger.
Okay.
You just need to click continue. If any of this is missing, then it won't allow you to change it.
Mm. This is applicable for all users
All
if you
yeah,
change entire
yeah,
system, right?
yeah, entire system.
Okay.
There should not be an issue in changing parameters.
But if some users want for a different chart of account or different thing, then
Then they
how?
can do it. Then they can do it. Select that parameter and the system would work accordingly.
No, no. Parallel configuration parameters, multiple parameter set is not going to work.
It is going to work. It is going to work. Not
But when
everyone.
when I change the global parameters, just now as we discussed, it is applicable for all users, right?
Yeah. So if I'm changing, then in my system it would be that. If you are
Okay.
changing, yeah. If you want to work on different period, then you can change different period in your system. I am working on 19 period. You can be working on 2020 period. It's
Okay.
user
Okay.
friendly. So we have data monitor. So here you can see we have a validation called reported data validation, and we have a standard data validation. So these two validations are there in data monitor, and third one, which is a consolidated data validation, it's there in consolidation monitor. Now, if you want to configure those validations, then you have to first configure validation method, and then you have to configure validation rules.
Where is the third one? Report
Consol-
consolidated where it is?
Consolidation monitor.
Yeah.
That you go to consolidation monitor. Let me just show you how to configure those. So we have to remember three for all these three validation: reported, standardized, and consolidated. Uh, the one thing with for all these three validation, we have to configure first validation method, and then we have to configure validation rule. Okay, and we have defined validation method. So this is the one of the app where we define the method. Then we have defined validation rule. There we configure the rule. Third app. Okay, so SCD1 and SRD1. This is the data validation method, which is already provided by the SAP. We can create our own method as well. Create, and we can just give the method like we can use your SCCD1. Yeah, ZCD1. As of now, we are not assigning the rules. We just creating a group. So whatever we have done, it's there, right? ZCD1. And if you go to the standard one, you can see like there is the validation, which is the node, and we can just create the node whatever is our requirement. Like what is generally done is for P&L there is separate validation, then for balance sheet there is separate validation, and these are all the rules which are assigned. Okay, so you can see these are the rule like assets equals to liability, or if you want to say accounts receivable should be greater than zero or accounts payable should be greater than similarly that. So creating method is very easy. Just will click create and do it. If you want to any assign the validation rule, just go and edit. Let us add a group also. P&L validation. We will also say profit. You can just name it anything based on your requirement. Profit and loss validation. So basically, this group would have all the validation pertaining to profit and loss. Similarly, you can have for balance sheet, you can have for cash flow, you can have multiple groups. So we added separate, and then in this group we can assign the rule which is already there. So click assign rules. So these are some of the standard validation rules which are available starting with S. Like you can say net income balance sheet equals to net income P&L, so this should tally. Then cash balance should be greater than zero, cash should not be negative. So those kind of validation you can have it depending on the project requirement. Basically, your asset value should always be greater than depreciation value. So this is also one kind of
What
validation.
is these rules?
These are the rules which it's like a formula. Like you can say that as your asset side equals to your liability side, or your cash balance is greater than zero. So those kind of validation you can give it. Let me just assign one. Yeah, loans and cash and one. These are all standard which is available. We will go through rules and just we find out. It's an active rule. So you can just assign it to our validation method. So first we have created our method, validation method. Then we created the group, like we can create separate group for profit and loss, separate for balance sheet, and then we can assign rules. So actually this is not a balance sheet one, this is a P&L.
Again,
Like
these are all specific, right?
yeah, user specific.
This 5B0070, this is a rule ID, right?
Yeah, this is a cool idea. Yeah. So let me
So
show you how to
inside the
create
rule,
that.
there is a definition. We can rule differently also.
Yeah. Now our validation method is active. Okay. And this validation method we assign it to the entity or a group. Okay. Let me show you how to create validation rule.
This rule, this method is global or specific set of chart of account and all this based on a parameters, global parameters.
Now you can create as it is. So let me show you the rule. It's not based on the parameters.
No, initially when we starting, right, we set a global parameters, right?
Yeah. So
So this will work under that global parameters, or this can be applicable for any combination global parameters.
any
Okay.
combination. Then we have validation rules. These are all the rules. So you can see one of the active rules. So take for example, trade receiver assets equal to liability. This one. This is a pretty standard one. So in rule you can see like we have given the formula, right? The rule ID we give, then we give the description, like what should be the description, asset equals to liability. Then we are given the tolerance, like it should exactly match to zero. Then we are given the control level, whether it should be an error or it should be a warning. Now this is the rule expression. Under the rule expression, you give your formula. Okay, so the left side becomes your assets. So we just give the name, then you can. This is the name alias assets. Then in that you're given the sum, year to date amount. Okay.
Yeah.
Coming to the financial statement, we have given one series. So anything starting with one is like your asset. Likewise for liability, it would be two, I guess. Yeah. So for liability, any financial statement starting with two, and equity would be three. Okay. So your any account, any FS item starting with one should equals. So there is a equal to amount selected should equals to liability and equity.
So
Okay. So this is
FS
the
item value which is there in a data into -1 plus equity value into -1, right?
yeah, yeah, correct. So
So
set
should be
would
equal to 0.
zero. Yeah.
That is the rule. So
This
if
is a
not 0, then it is a error.
yeah. It's an error.
Okay.
Yeah. So likewise, you can create any rule you want uh, based on this available options. Okay. You can see another one like your land value should be greater than the depreciation. So it's basically so in this case what we have given is this is a rule ID. We can give anything. For our purpose, we will give CB like land building equals to greater than. This is a description. Tolerance is zero. Control is the formula is like basically sum of the account. So this would be an account for land, and this would be for I think amortization. So this would be like here the formula is land and building gross value should be greater than depreciation. So this makes sense because we don't want to depreciate more than the actual value. You purchase an asset for 1 lakh, take for example. and over the period of time you depreciate like 10,000 every year. So you can only depreciate amount up to the original asset value. You cannot depreciate more than that. So this kind of validation makes sense, like wherein we want to check whether depreciation of that particular asset is more than the original value. So this is a land value, then this would be an depreciation value. So this plus this would become this plus this should always be should be greater than zero. Okay.
Can I use a rule inside rule?
No, no. I
Okay.
never tried it, so you can try
Okay.
it from now. And I never tried the rule site rule. You can just create one. Group reporting is a very standard, you can say,
Yeah, yeah.
standard options which are available. In DPC, we can have script logics, we can have a business rules. Script logic was pretty useful in case of DPC, like to do a lot of customization. Here, there is no option for script logic. Maybe like Z, GR, anything zero. You can give like, you can also give asset equals liability. Like control is equals to error or like warning or information. But asset equals liability should be error only because if it is not tallying, then your balance sheet won't tally. The tolerance should always be zero in that case. Now you don't see anything, right? So what you can do is just click this one. You can just give the name, asset, and that name would appear over here. Okay. Now what this asset specify is like can be sum of Y2D value because assets year to date. And you can select the parameter like what kind of, so we can say financial statement item, so it could be like attribute or attribute value or based on any property value also you can give like also you can give value. You can just give one star like they have given, and you can select the
I
equals
have a
to
small
value.
doubt here.
Yeah,
Year to date amount, right? For
yeah,
example, I'm extracting a data from AC Docker. So AC Docker is contains a daily transactions,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
How will we calculate year to data amount in that?
Yeah, it's automatically calibrated. So in group reporting is a periodic model, it's not a Y2D model.
Oh,
Okay.
automatically will calculate, right?
Yeah, based on the measure. So there are two standard measures available in group reporting. One is periodic, one is Y2D. And
Mhm.
group reporting is a bit different from BPC. In BPC, we always used to prepare a consolidation model as Y2D model, but here it's a periodic model. And when once you select Y2D, what it does is it takes all the periods starting from 000 to the current period, and it clubs the value, brings the Y2D amount. Likewise, here you can give the other option, like you can just give the name liability, some up to date, financial statement, value. So likewise, you can give it. You
Yeah.
can just yeah, you got the point, right? You just need to click save and activate. So once the rule is created, you can assign that rule to the method. Okay. So create
Yeah.
rule, assign rule to the method, then assign method to the entity. Okay. So whenever we run the validation for that entity, we should take the rules method, then we have assign validation method. Let's go there. There are certain task ID. So we have reported data validation, we have standard data validation, we have consolidated. So if we go to reported, we'll take a reported. Okay. So for this validation, we have SRD1 method. Okay.
Hmm.
Consolidation unit. Okay. So the validation method which we have created, right? You can just change it. Either you can give each entity or you can just give one. So we'll take Germany in our case. For Germany, now we'll assign the validation method which we have created. That's CD1. Okay. Just click.
No, can you one second, please? Because from where this consolidation unit came back? Because we are given only method, right?
Yeah, so method we have given, so we need to assign that method to some consolidation unit, right? So that's what we are doing over here.
Okay, yesterday we have created a consolidation unit, right? That's what we have to give here. That's
Yeah,
one we have. Yeah, okay.
correct, correct. Consolidation unit, yeah, it's the one we created, right? So we have gone through that. So we just need to assign it and just click save. It's a transportable object, you can transport, or you can just you have assigned this the custom validation method which we have created to this method. Okay. Likewise, so this is the one we assigned for the reported data validation you can see. Likewise, you can assign validation method to. So there is a task ID. Like you can similarly you can assign the same validation to the other.
Did we assign something like organizational structure to consolidation group and unit?
Yeah, we assigned, right?
Okay, I'm
We
just
already,
recollecting. Can you
yeah,
go again, please?
okay.
Sorry, I missed that.
Consolidation was data. So this we have discussed, right? Creation of consolidation unit. Both you just have. You can just give the consolidation unit you want to create. Like take for example, we have selected 1504 if you remember.
Mhm.
We have given India, then medium text also we can give India.
This,
India is a country, then local
yeah,
currency.
okay,
Then we could
transfer.
give the methods, local currency, then translation method we assign.
Mhm.
We can assign the validation method over here directly also, that's also possible. So
Hmm.
we can assign reported data. So from here also we
Each,
can just
each unit we have to use one technique only.
come again.
Each unit, right? We have to assign only one task ID.
No, no, you can have reported and you can have multiple as well. So it's possible. So
Okay,
let
this
me
is applicable for chart of account level, right? Chart of account level, the version
oh yeah,
Y10, then
yeah,
period from 2020. This unit will work. Whenever this unit will come into the picture, these validation rules and methods will come into the picture.
correct, correct.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. So this pro, I'm
Yeah, we have gone through it. We can release data from universal or
yeah.
flexible. So that's what we created 1504.
So then obviously this is the applicable at global parameters level.
No, no, the method is there, so you can assign method to any parameter, right? For 2020, 20, any
Yeah, yeah.
parameter.
So whatever we are assigned, that level, that global parameter level, unit will come into the picture. Once unit is coming to the picture, all these will come into the picture.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So that was for the reported data validation. Similarly, you can assign the consolidated data validation. So for consolidated data validation, so if you see the reported data validation, you can assign the consolidation unit. So it is at consolidation unit level. Whereas the consolidated data validation, it is at group level. So you need to assign that validation to group level only, not the unit level. Let me show you. Okay. Similarly, reported and standardized data validation. Both the validation is done at the entity level because our data monitor we perform tasks based on the consolidation unit. So we can assign this validation directly to the consolidation unit. If we can see, okay. So you can see this is also at consolidation unit level. We have consolidation unit and we have validation method. And also you can assign the same validation method to both standardized data and consolidated data, also at reported data. Because you want to see assets equals to liability at local currency level also and also at a group currency level. So for the same method you can assign to the standardized data validation at the custom reported data validation and also at the consolidated data validation. The only difference here is it's a group data, sorry, consolidated data validation, wherein instead of consolidation unit, you will assign the validation method to a group because our consolidation method, because our consolidation monitor, we perform the task for each group, not at the entity level. Into this one, now consolidated data validation. Here you can see that instead of consolidation unit, it says consolidation group.
Yeah.
So you can just assign your group, and this makes sense because our consolidation monitor runs on group instead of consolidation. You can just assign any group, just standard. You can group from to range also. You can assign it individually. And also validation method, the same validation method you can assign over here. So it's not like you create separate validation for each thing. You can just use the same validation. Now one would have question like we are assigning the same validation. So some would have issues like why we are assigning the same thing. So how it works is basically the same kind of validation, right? Assets equals to liability or okay. And basically this is the way you do assignment. So see, take for example, we have created a validation rule which is assets equals to liability. Now we will assign that validation rule which is assets equals to liability to our validation method. So in validation method, we'll create a group called balance sheet validation. In that balance sheet validation group, we'll assign the rule which we have created earlier, which is asset equals to liability. And then in turn, we'll assign that validation method to all these three validations. So how it works is, so first create a validation, which it would be like, take for example, asset equals reliability. Then we assign it to create method. Then we assign validation rule to method. Then third step is like assign validation method to a respective task. You can say respective task. So we have three tasks, which is namely standard data, sorry, reported data. Then we have standard data. Then we have consolidated. Okay. So this is at consolidation unit level. This is at consolidation group level. Now same asset liability we assign to method, and the same asset liability is assigned to the all this validation reported standardized. So how it works is like for consolidation group level.
Yeah. What is the process-wise difference between a reported, standard, and consolidated?
Yeah. So if you see the reported is like at local currency. So your data would be at local currency.
Okay.
Reported standardized is after currency conversion. So all the entities would be converted. So take for example any entity is there. Okay. When we load the data, it is loaded in euro. So we do first validation in euro term, asset equals liability. Then we perform currency conversion. Then again we do validation whether euro to USD, which is converted, that entity USD also it is matching or not. And the third one is at group level. So it would be like combination of all the entities. So take for example, this is 1000 entity. That it was zero, validation works fine, so it's fine. And again we do currency conversion, it turns into USD, again the validation works. Then now the group level is like consolidation of everything, 1000, 2000, and 3000. So total of everything should also match. So that's the consolidated validation. So basically we are running the same asset equals liability at three different levels. You getting it?
Yeah, yeah. Three different levels, but anyway, we have separate settings for that.
Yeah. We go to data monitor. We have reported data. So reported data is just after you load the data and you just calculate net income. But standardized data comes into the picture once you run the currency translation. So after running currency translation and before moving data to consolidation monitor, we just do a last validation after running currency translation. So it's a step is there at every each and every process. Local currency, then again after converted, then after consolidation. So we run this validation three times. Okay.
Yeah. We are not
Uh,
reached this place yet, right?
Come again?
We are not reached to that place yet again, right?
Which place?
Data monitor we are not started, right? At as of now.
Yeah, but configuration is done, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Configuration. Yeah. This is just after running configuration. This is nothing actually. We just after doing configuration, this is user perspective. They just right click and update it. But I will show it to you how to modify the monitor in case if you want to assign new tasks and all. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's for the today.
Yeah.
We can continue intercompany matching and reconciliation for tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, so from tomorrow onwards, we will be moving to the consolidation part, right? ICMR, then elimination, then investment equity, loading percentages, and all.
Okay.
Okay,